In the government's data in the coming days, this tells you that the pandemic is still here with us, and it's time that we really should not drop our guards. Wash your hands, sanitize, and socially distance where you can. Right. It's the 5th of February 2021. Good evening. Many thanks for joining us on Channel 1 Weekend this night. My name is Museo. Let's begin with the highlights.
Mjadala ni nafasi za kazi kwa watu wa chini. Mjadala ni mama mboga na mtu wa mkokoteni na mtu wa bodaboda. Mjadala ibadilika ama bado?
Pengine badala ya kupatia vijana access to capital, anaambia vijana ati wheelbarrow. Wheelbarrow unaweza kufanya nayo kazi gani?
Deputy President William Ruto takes his hustler narrative to the coast as opposition leader Raila Odinga sells the BBI agenda to Turkana residents. A section of former Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko's sympathizers visit him at Gigiri police station, denied opportunity to see him. And a U.S. missionary jailed for more than 15 years for sexually abusing underage girls in an orphanage in Kenya. Once again, my name is Museo, and Byron, not really Byron, but Lucy Maura is our sign language interpreter tonight at Purity_Museo and at KBC Channel 1 News. The hashtag is Channel 1 Weekend. Tell us where you tuned in from. I'll be glad to sample some of your feedback during this broadcast. Let's get started. And Deputy President William Ruto has refuted claims that the hustler and wheelbarrow narrative was meant to incite economic classes clash in the country. Ruto instead said he was contented that Kenya's conversation was shifting from politicians' power and positions to basic issues affecting the ordinary people. This even as he urged Kenyans to support his 2022 presidential bid. Meanwhile, ANC party leader Musalia Mudavadi has refuted claims that he is being fronted by a section of leaders to succeed President Uhuru Kenyatta in 2022.
Deputy President William Ruto was in Kilifi and Mombasa counties on Friday to sell his hustler narrative, terming it as the best weapon to transform Kenya.
Na mimi nataka niwaambie wale ambao hawataki tuanze chini kwa mwananchi mdogo, wawache madharau, wawache kiburi, wawache matusi. Kazi ni kazi. Hata iwe ndogo tunaweza kuikuza kesho iwe kazi kubwa.
The deputy president was in a company of more than 20 members of parliament, however, refuted claims that the hustler and wheelbarrow narrative was meant to incite economic class clashes between the haves and the have-nots.
Kila mkutano, kila kiongozi wanasumbuliwa na mambo mawili: hustler na wheelbarrow. Mjadala umebadilika, hujabadilika? Yule anasukuma mkokoteni pale, tunataka tumuinue kesho awe na taksi, kesho kutwa awe na matatu, siku nyingine awe na bus. Huyu wa kiosk tunataka kesho, siku hiyo nyingine awe na mini market na awe na supermarket. Tunaelewana ama tuelewani jameni?
MPs present while rooting for Ruto's 2022 presidency castigated those opposing the hustler agenda, saying the movement was unstoppable.
Tunataka mjadala wa kuangalia tabu ya mwananchi ni nini. Mjadala wa kuzungumzia mnazi wa Kilifi. Mjadala wa kuzungumzia mkorosho wa Kilifi. Mjadala wa kuzungumzia mashamba yaliyoibiwa yatarudi vipi Kilifi.
Na mimi nataka nimwambie naibu wa rais, tunapoagana na wewe leo hapa, mimi nakuamini ya kwamba hautabadilika.
Kwa sasa karibu ya miongo miwili, over 20 years, sisi tumekwama watu wa Kilifi. Uchumi wetu umekwama, maendeleo yetu yamekwama, watoto wetu wamekwama, hakuna kizuri kinatendeka. Lakini tumaini ni kwamba there is hope at the end of the tunnel.
Araya milele umpe e Bwana.
The 2022 succession politics resonated in Kivagala Maragoli North in Vihiga County during the burial of the late Mzee Francis Chogo. ANC party leader Musalia Mudavadi refuting claim that he is being fronted by a section of leaders allied to President Uhuru Kenyatta as his favorite successor come 2022. Mudavadi said his 2022 presidential bid is not pegged on any endorsement from someone.
Hile password Atuoli alikuwa kizungumza akisema tafuta password. Ukitaka kupata kuwa rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya, tafuta password. Mimi nataka niwaambie password ya kuingia kwa kiti cha urais ni kura ya mwananchi kupitia kwa debe. Sasa tuko kwa hile hali ya kutafuta transition ya kutoka kwa Uhuru hadi kwa nani?
Tukitaka kusaidia Musalia ni lazima tumpe nafasi ya kunegotiate na wengine. Kunegotiate na Kalonzo Musyoka, kunegotiate na Joe kule Mombasa, ama yeyote rafiki yake kule ANC na mbunge huko.
Timothy Kipnusu for Channel 1 News.
And while DP Ruto was at the coast, opposition leader Raila Odinga has urged residents of Turkana County to coexist in harmony to pave way for more development projects in the region. Raila, who lauded the government's efforts to quell the tension in Kapedo, called for the arrest of those fueling the animosity. The opposition leader, who is at the county to drum up support for the Building Bridges initiative, insists that the document, if passed, will spur economic growth in all parts of the country.
ODM leader Raila Odinga has lauded the government's efforts to beef up security in the volatile area of Kapedo. The opposition chief, who is in Lodwar, Turkana County, to drum up support for the Building Bridges initiative, insisting that a lasting solution is needed in the area to end the perennial insecurity problem.
Sisi tunahitaji usaidizi wako tupate lami ile italinga hapa mpaka Kibish mpaka Ethiopia. Hiyo tutapata yani biashara nzuri na nchi ya Uganda.
Nikasema mambo ya Kapedo mpaka ikomeshwe mara moja. Wale wahalifu wanaua watu wetu. Wanakuja na bunduki, wanapiga risasi akina mama, vijana ambaye hawana hatia. Hiyo ni nchi gani? Matiang'i akaniambia mimi nimesikia.
Raila and his brigade calling on the residents to support the Building Bridges initiative, saying that it will ensure more funds are devolved, leading to more development in the region.
Pesa ambayo inakuwa ni hazina ambayo vijana watakwenda pale wanaazima pesa huko, wanaanzisha nao biashara yao na hawalipi riba mpaka miaka 7, interest free.
BBI inaleta nafasi za uongozi kwa wamama, lakini pia inaleta pesa ya biashara kwa wamama.
Nitawaomba sote tutembee pamoja, tumuunge Mheshimiwa Rais mkono, tuweze kuunga BBI mkono, tuimarishe ugatuzi Kenya, tulete maendeleo kwa kila sehemu ya taifa letu.
The BBI proponents defending the handshake and accused the Deputy President William Ruto for focusing on his 2022 presidential ambition rather than the government development agenda.
Tumeweza kupata hiyo handshake na imeweza kuboresha maisha ya Wanakenya na vile tumerani serikali.
Juzi alisema handshake ndio imeharibu ati serikali ya Jubilee. Handshake sasa iko na miaka 2-3. Watoto yetu ya shule wanasoma chini ya miti. Kuanzia 2013 mpaka 2017 hatukuwa na handshake. Mbona huko jenga madarasa?
The leaders insisted that the youth needed access to capital and not the wheelbarrow narrative being fronted by the UDA party.
Mengine badala ya kupatia vijana access to capital, anaambia vijana ati wheelbarrow. Wheelbarrow unaweza kufanya na kazi gani?
The opposition leader is expected in Kakuma and Katulu in Turkana North on Saturday. Suleiman Yeri, Channel 1 News.
Meanwhile, former Machakos Senator Johnston Muthama has dismissed claims by a section of politicians that former Nairobi Governor Mike Mbuvi Sonko is facing prosecution due to his alleged fallout with President Uhuru Kenyatta. Sonko has been in police custody since Monday after he presented himself to the Directorate of Criminal Investigations for interrogation. He is facing assault and graft charges as investigations into his alleged terror links continue.
Friday afternoon at the Gigiri police station in Nairobi, a heavy presence of police. Embattled former Nairobi Governor Mike Mbuvi Sonko is being held here. A handful of his political sympathizers have come to check on him. They are, however, denied the opportunity as only Sonko's close family members, his personal doctor and legal team are allowed to see him. Former Machakos Senator Johnston Muthama dismissed claims the former Nairobi governor is a guest of the state after an alleged fallout with the president.
Jokingly, someone stands and tells the head of state that I want to beg you to forgive Sonko. We know he has abused you, and we ask you to forgive him and hand him over to us. I mean, that's a big joke. I don't think Sonko is here because he's the president who said bring him here, because he has no capacity to order for anybody to be arrested. The president does not have any right to order anybody to be arrested and be charged. It is the law that is being and gets to be applied for someone to be arrested.
Muthama accusing the government of attempting to silence voices of political dissent, sentiments echoed by Kirinyaga women representatives Wangui Ngirishi.
I think it's a high time as a country we start thinking seriously about following the rule of law, because it's not been put there as flowers. It's been put there so that we can have proper guidance in a country. Like we should have good living. And that is why we have rule of law. Kenya is not a banana republic.
Sonko is being held at the police station awaiting the hearing of his bail application on Tuesday next week at the Kiambu court, where he is facing assault charges. Late on the same day, he is expected at the Kahawal court, where the Directorate of Criminal Investigations is seeking to extend his detention for 30 days as investigations continue into his alleged involvement in terror-related activities. Reporting for Channel 1 News, I'm Wycliffe Okech.
And Langat Vincent, you are tuned in from Kericho in Leiten. And then we have Shadrach Wambua, who is watching us from Tala, Machakos County, Charles Musioka from Kwale County, and Art Mutumwa from Mombasa, watching Teacher Jose Felix Owor. You are tuned in from Nyatike Sub-County in Migori County. And of course, we have at J. Kilo saying that you are tuned in. Peter Mutinda from Zawi, you are tuned in to Channel 1 Weekend. Keep tweeting, keep talking to us. Let's keep this conversation going at Purity_Museo and at KBC Channel 1 News, the hashtag Channel 1 Weekend. The government says peace initiatives undertaken in one of the conflict-prone areas along the West Pokot-Turkana border have been successful. Devolution Cabinet Secretary Eugene Wamalo says the government remains committed to implement peace-building programs among warring communities. He gave the assurance during the official reopening of one of the schools that was closed for 10 years following the ethnic clashes in West Pokot, Turkana border. The renovation of the school, which has already enrolled 60 pupils, is part of campaigns to encourage peaceful coexistence.
Moi Masol Primary School along the West Pokot-Turkana border now tells of a new story. Some of its classrooms have been renovated, while a number of structures have been newly constructed. The school had been vandalized following perennial cattle rustling incidents that saw residents desert the area.
Hizo ukiona hizo structures vile iko ni wakati sasa hapa ilikuwa mambo ya insecurity. Watu walihama area hii wakamia wengine kule Weiwei ambaye ni jirani na hii ward pale Weiwei.
In 2018, the National Drought Management Authority, in partnership with European Union and West Pokot County Government, initiated the rehabilitation of the school at a cost of 42 million shillings. The main aim was to foster peaceful coexistence among the warring communities. Reformed warriors were brought on board to champion the cause in a bid to heal the scars.
Hii shule tunaomba iwe bweni, ile shule dormitory zote tunayasaleta wajirani wetu pia wasomee kwa hii shule, alafu hao Pokot pia wasomee hapa. Hiyo pia inaleta pamoja, inaleta watu pamoja. Karibu. Karibu.
Devolution Cabinet Secretary Eugene Wamalwa, who visited the area to commission the reopening of the school, confirmed the peace initiative has borne fruits.
And today, hapa tukiwa Moi Masol, tumeona former warriors waliokuwa kwa mambo ya cattle rustling wamebadilika, wamekuwa reformed warriors for peace. Hii ni jambo la kufurahisha sana. You the reformed warriors, labda mlikuwa mna raid upande wa Turkana ama upande wa Baringo, tunataka pia muwe mabalozi wa amani.
Wamalwa reiterated the government's commitment to initiate and implement campaigns that will see warring communities embrace each other.
Vile vile kuna mambo ya irrigation. Pale Amolem, vile umeelezwa, tayari tulikuwa tumeweka mpango na kushirikiana na National Irrigation Authority. Leo nataka niwahakikishie mbunge wenu huyu amesukuma kabisa, na hiyo irrigation tunaenda kuhakikisha ya kwamba inafanyika na iweze kuleta mambo ya food security hapa.
Sigor Member of Parliament Peter Lokachapong lauded the peace efforts, even as he called for affirmative action to support more children enroll in the school.
Kwa viongozi katika jamii. So wakati tumeshirikiana na viongozi wote hapa, amani imekuja.
He called on regions that are still experiencing insecurity occasioned by cattle rustling like Kapedo in Baringo County to visit and learn from documented success stories. Kamchemenza for Channel 1 News.
And still coming up, 195 test positive in the country for COVID-19 in the last 24 hours. That report and other stories coming up shortly after this short commercial break. Do stay with us.
Malaria ni ugonjwa hatari sana unaoua watu wengi hapa Kenya. Japo kuko na corona, hatari ya malaria bado iko. Mtoto huyu alikuwa na joto jingi, kutetemeka, kuumwa na viungo na uchovu. Alikimbizwa hospitali ya umma ambako sheria za COVID-19 huzingatiwa na ni salama kwa shughuli ya upimaji. Vipimo vilionyesha kuwa ana malaria, na papo hapo daktari akampa dawa za malaria na kumshauri azimalize, na ili kujikinga wawe wakilala ndani ya neti iliyotibiwa. Malaria husambazwa na mbu. Walio hatarini ni watoto wa chini ya miaka 5 na akina mama wajawazito. Kupimwa na kutibiwa ni bure katika hospitali zote za umma. Usisahau adui malaria. Zero malaria huanza na mimi. Chukua jukumu leo. Komesha malaria. Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwenu na Wizara ya Afya.
Every Saturday and Sunday, KBC rejuvenates your weekend with gospel tunes and strengthen your faith with the word. As we bring you Seventh-day Adventist Sermon, Saturdays at 10 a.m.
In the Bible, we can find answers to life's most important questions.
The Holy Mass on Sundays at 9:30 a.m.
Mwana kondoo wa Mungu aondoaye dhambi za dunia. Tazameni yeye anayetuponya magonjwa yetu yote ya mwili na ya roho.
The All Saints Cathedral at 11 a.m.
Pray that the Lord Jesus Christ may raise you to be a witness.
KBC Channel 1.
Thank you so much for staying with Channel 1 Weekend. I'm Purity Museo. Lucy Mwaura is our sign language interpreter tonight. Let's continue with our broadcast. The Kenya National Nurses Association of Kenya is now accusing the Seth Panyako-led Nurses Union and the Council of Governors of politicizing the welfare of healthcare workers in the country. The Nursing Association laments that wrangles between the two parties have completely stalled any meaningful negotiations to end the 2-month-long strike by the healthcare professionals. The association is now pleading with the Nurses Union and COG to put their differences aside and address issues being raised by the medics. The National Nurses Association of Kenya now attributes the prolonged nurses strike in the country to wrangles between the leadership of the Kenya National Union of Nurses and that of the Council of Governors. The association's chair, Alfred Obengo, warns that politicization of the healthcare sector will not only affect medics but may completely cripple the crucial sector.
Our people have been on strike for around 2 months now. But it's unfortunate that the narrative has not been confined to the specific issues within the bracket that concerns the welfare of healthcare workers.
Obengo accuses the Panyako-led union of diverting from the real issues affecting nurses.
We call upon the leadership of the Nurses Union to address the labor-related issues as per the law requires and not outside the brackets of the law. Both sides, or probably all parties, have politicized this process to the extent that the specific issues that the healthcare workers have been asking for and are still asking for have been masked in a political war between some individuals.
Nurses working in public hospitals in various counties have been on strike for 2 months, demanding, among other things, the provision of quality and adequate personal protective equipment, risk allowance, life and comprehensive medical cover, among others.
The things that do not affect counties, especially this strike was very uncalled for. It was not necessary because the issues that were being raised were beyond the purview of the county governments. And that one we kept on saying clearly, but
A new cost-friendly tuberculosis treatment that also reduces the pill burden on patients is set to be rolled out in Kenya this February at an affordable price. United PEPFAR and the Global Fund say that Ethiopia, Ghana, Mozambique and Zimbabwe will also benefit from the medicine as first beneficiaries in Africa.
The new patient-friendly tuberculosis treatment will be rolled out in 5 high-burden tuberculosis countries in Africa beginning this February and March this year. Unit Aid, PEPFAR and the Global Fund says Kenya, Ethiopia, Ghana, Mozambique and Zimbabwe will be the first countries out of a total of 12 to provide the new treatment. A 3-month course of the weekly tuberculosis preventive treatment, TPT dose, combines 2 drugs, rifapentine and isoniazid, and will cost $15 US, which is approximately 1,500 Kenya shillings per person. Unit Aid says the new treatment reduces the pill burden from 9 to 3 pills a week for adults and prevents TB infection among individuals at high risk. According to World Health Organization, enough treatments for up to 3 million patients are expected to be made available for eligible countries this year. People with TB infection, often dubbed latent, have no symptoms, are not contagious, and most do not know they are infected. And without treatment, 5% to 10% of them develop active TB, the form which makes them sick and can transmit the disease to others. Irene Mchuma Odim, Channel 1.
Good news for Africa and big steps for Kenya towards ending the TB crisis in the country. The coronavirus infection in the country seems to be on an upward trajectory, with the country recording 195 positive cases on Friday out of a sample size of 5,859 tested in the last 24 hours. This brings the confirmed positive cases in the country to 101,534. Kenya has so far conducted a cumulative test of 1,206,161. 3 patients have succumbed to the disease, pushing the fatalities to 1,776. On a rather positive note, 125 patients have recovered from the disease, 80 from various health facilities and 45 from the home-based care program. There are 401 patients currently admitted at various hospitals, while 1,419 are on the home-based care and isolation. According to the Minister of Health, another 27 patients, are on intensive care unit, 16 on ventilatory support and 11 on supplementary oxygen. Elsewhere, an American has been sentenced to more than 15 years in prison after abusing underage girls in an orphanage in Kenya. Gregory Dow, a Christian missionary, set up the orphanage with his wife in 2008. It was partly funded by churches in Lancaster County in the U.S. state of Pennsylvania and was in operation for almost a decade before Dow fled in 2017.
In the ruling, Jennifer Arbiter Williams, the acting United States Attorney for the Eastern District of Pennsylvania, said Gregory Doe of Lancaster County had traveled halfway around the world to prey on incredibly vulnerable victims. The 61-year-old established an orphanage in 2008, which came to be known as the Doe Family's Children's Home. In 2020, he pleaded guilty in the U.S. to 4 counts of engaging in illicit sexual conduct with a minor in a foreign place. At that time, prosecutors said they were prepared to present evidence detailing Doe's years of abuse as part of a plea agreement. He admitted to abusing 4 girls in multiple attacks from October 2013 to September 2017. The prosecutors say 2 of the victims were 11 when the abuse began, another was 12, and a 4th was 13. In addition to the 15-year prison term, Doe was also ordered to pay $16,000 restriction. He was already a known sex offender before he started the orphanage in Kenya. In 1996, he pleaded guilty to assault with intent to commit sexual abuse, for which he received 2 years probation and was ordered to register as a sex offender for a decade.
In other news, U.S. President Joe Biden has promised to rebuild his country's partnership with the African Union. AU Biden made the pledge in his first foreign policy speech since his taking office.
The White House on Friday tweeted a video of the U.S. President Biden's remarks to the African Union ahead of its 34th summit, saying that his administration is committed to rebuilding their partnership around the world and re-engaging with international institutions. Elsewhere in Myanmar, a civil disobedience movement is gaining momentum, with teachers and students protesting against Monday's military coup. Hundreds of teachers and students gathered outside Dagon University, displaying the 3-finger salute, a sign that has been adopted by the protesters in the region to show their opposition to authoritarian rule. Demonstrators at the university in the biggest city, Yangon, chanted support for jail leader Aung San Suu Kyi and wore red ribbons, her party's color. Suu Kyi and other leaders have been held since the coup. Elsewhere, scientists believe that they might have discovered the smallest reptile on Earth, a chameleon subspecies that is the size of a seed. 2 of the tiny lizards were discovered by a German Madagascar expedition team in Madagascar. The male Bruchisia nana, or nano chameleon, has a body of just 13.5 millimeters. This makes it the smallest of about 11,500 known species of reptiles, according to the Bavarian State Collection of Zoology in Munich. And Russia has expelled diplomats from Germany, Sweden, and Poland. The foreign ministry said in a statement the EU diplomats took part in illegal protests held in support of opposition leader and President Vladimir Putin's critic Alexei Navalny. Channel 1 News, I'm Nisi Imano Okoth.
Back home, more than 50 flood victims are still awaiting resettlement in Rachonyo within Homa Bay County. 16 months down the lane, the families were displaced along the shores of Lake Victoria at Chowe Beach following the backflow of water from the lakes. The affected families are now calling on the government to come to their rescue.
The increasing water levels at Lake Victoria left several houses submerged, livestock dead, and several families displaced. However, several months have elapsed since then, and the ill-fated families are yet to find a safer place to call home. Eunice Omolo, a victim, says they have been living in churches and schools, but since schools reopened, it has been a challenge.
Last year, mwezi wa 11 tarehe 7 ndio tulianza kukua na janga hii. Wakati tulifuriwa, tulienda kuishi kwa makanisa.
The county government of Uasin Gishu intends to increase livestock production through breed improvement. Governor Jackson Mandago, who spoke at Chebarorwa Agricultural Institute during livestock auction drive, urged farmers to make use of artificial insemination to enhance animal production in the area.
The purpose of this auction mainly is actually to sell to farmers quality breeds of livestock for purposes of them improving their breeds and their livestock at home. Every year we do an auction here in Chebororwa to empower our farmers in the neighborhood and also within the county and the neighboring counties.
In another development, the county government of Bomet and the Kenya Red Cross have embarked on a sensitization exercise in Sotik and Chepalungu sub-counties following the outbreak of anthrax, which has led to the loss of lives and animals in the area.
As the county government of Bomet, we have quite a number of measures. One of them is whereby we are doing barazas, we are doing dialogue days like this, and also we are just informing our people to have information about this anthrax. We are teaching them about anthrax.
Elsewhere, Political Parties Liaison Committee PPLC has called on the government to crack the whip on politicians out to propagate animosity among Kenyans.
So the NCIC should bite. It has teeth, it has powers to prosecute, and they should take it very, very seriously.
Finally, residents in Mitundu village in Kagwe location Larry constituency are now appealing to the national government to consider them in the last mile electricity connection program. The residents claim their efforts on the same through their local leaders have hit a snag.
Time for the business news. The United Nations Industrial Development Organization, UNIDO, in partnership with the government and private sector, has rolled out a 425.5 million shillings nuts, horticulture and herbs production program. The Market Access Upgrade program, which is being implemented in 12 counties, will see farmers trained on crop husbandry and facilitated to market their produce.
As workers are engrossed in the day's work, the small industry owned by Gilbert Ndegwa processes about 150 kilograms of groundnut weekly based on demand. Ndegwa says he secured $500,000 shillings bank loan in 2018 to start the factory and hopes to secure more capital to expand the facility.
Nikifanya hii kazi nipate pesa, hakuna ile kitu ambayo mimi nahitaji vingine, sababu familia sasa hiyo wamekaa vizuri, watakula, wakunywe, wasome kutokana na hii kazi. Na sasa hiyo kazi itakuwa rahisi.
Like many other nut processing plants in the country, sourcing for raw nuts has been a challenge due to low supply, which has seen processors import groundnuts from, among others, Malawi.
Jugu za hapa kwetu ni kidogo sana na watu haipendi sababu sio kubwa, mbegu yake ni ndogo. Inatakiwa mbegu kubwa kama vile zile ziko na iko ni kubwa kubwa. Hizi za hapa ni ndogo ndogo. Za Kenya ni ndogo. Sasa hii njugu inatoka Malawi. Kulingana vile tunaambiwa inatoka Malawi.
In a bid to increase nut production in the country, the 425.5 million shillings European Union-funded Market Access Upgrade Program, which is being implemented by United Nations Industrial Development Organization, the government and the private sector, is seeking to train farmers on proper nuts and horticulture husbandry to help produce high-quality nuts.
Mradi kama huyo wa markup inaweza kuwa mzuri kwa sababu wakati wanasaidia wakulima, sio wakulima peke yake, sababu wakulima wakisaidiwa wanaleta kwa sisi au wanaleta kwa market. Wakileta kwa market, kama sisi hatuna support yoyote, hatutaweza kuwanunulia tena, nao pia watakuwa na shida ya kupeleka, watapeleka wapi ikishakuwa.
Part of the cash will be used to facilitate farmers access market for their produce. The project seeks to increase production of snow peas, chilies, mangoes, passion fruit, macadamia, herbs and spices in 12 counties. Benson Joba reporting for Channel 1 Business.
The Kenya Leather Industrial Park will be underutilized if supporting infrastructure and amenities like power and roads are not done to support the development. This is according to the Kenya Leather Development Council CEO Dr. Isaac Noor, who says the 2.2 billion shillings park in Machakos County has been exporting zone license.
Workers hard at work to achieve a fast approaching deadline. This is part of a future waste recycling block in what is to become the East Africa region's first leather industrial park. Even though the World Bank estimates the value of the global leather trade to be about 150 billion US dollars, Africa, which has a fifth of the world's livestock population, accounts for a paltry 4% of the trade, while Kenya accounts for 0.14%. To increase Kenya's share of the global market, the government is rallying investors to snap up opportunities in the leather value chain.
On the other side of this development here, Kenya Leather Park, you can organize how to get land, set up, invest, become an investor, become a private investor, not foreign investor, become a private investor, and take advantage of what government has done. It will save you many millions of shillings because you don't have to replicate this. So in terms of the drylands areas, and if you look at where this is situated in Kenania, you have all this Kajiado, we all know, Kajiado and Narok is Maasai country. All this lower eastern is all Ng'ombe country, Ng'ombe, Mbuzi, Kondoo country.
Leather is wealth, leather has value, and therefore we have to create an environment by establishing this plus 3 others to begin with across the country so that our resources can now create jobs for our youth.
As construction of the 2.2 billion shillings leather industrial park in Machakos County progresses, issues are being raised about construction of key supporting amenities and horizontal infrastructure for the facility.
We are still far from when the park is going to be fully operational. You have come from the main road up to here. You have seen the nature of the road. It's yet to be done. You do not see small power lines you can see, but there is still no power substation for industrial use. There is still no water supply and distribution for industrial use. We are yet to have ICT infrastructure connectivity on the park. Therefore, we are still far away.
The park, on a 500-acre piece of land, is designed to be a one-stop shop for leather, leather goods and related industries, including tanneries. Alan Auko, Channel 1 Business.
Elsewhere, the government is looking to increase the number of skilled labor in the use of alternative building technologies to help fast-track construction of quality affordable houses and reduce the growing housing deficit. Expanded polystyrene boards (EPS) has been identified as one of the technologies that could be tapped not only to solve the country's housing deficit but also help create employment opportunities.
Kenya is in some quarters referred to as the Silicon Savannah of Africa due to her technological advances and pioneering technologies that not only solve local problems but are also replicated elsewhere. An example is the mobile money. However, when it comes to housing, the country faces a housing deficit of over 200,000 units, which keep growing annually. Use of technology has been backed to help the country fast-track the construction of houses. One such technology is the expanded polystyrene polystyrene boards, EPS, which involves off-site making of housing components that are later assembled to make a house. The expanded polystyrene boards, EPS technology, is said to reduce costs by a third.
EPS is new technology, is new building technology. And the reason why we think it's important is because in our bid to create affordable housing, 500,000 houses per year is a target, of course, which we're not meeting right now, but we are ramping up everything we need to do that. We are looking at speed and we're looking at cost savings.
The government is banking on training artisans about the EPS technology in efforts to boost its usage among house developers in Kenya.
For the fundis who may now apply this technology across all the spaces in the country, we train them out in the field. And we also invite them to join us in some of our sites that we work with. And we also work and we appreciate the fact that artisans come from polytechnics.
One such EPS factory is the 700 million shillings plant owned by the National Housing Corporation based in Machakos County, which produces EPS panels that can be used to build houses of up to 20 stories.
Durability, I would say, is as good as how you maintain the structure. It's all about maintenance, as we all know. It can last for as long as a stone house, even better, because this is reinforced concrete. In terms of durability, reinforced concrete is far ahead of stone.
Officials say housing units built using the EPS technology have better soundproof attributes, are durable and pest resistant. Alan Auko, Channel One Business.
While those enrolling for the maritime and blue economy courses at institutions of higher learning will qualify for financial support from the Higher Education's Loan Board. This follows a deal signed by the Kenya Maritime Authority and the Higher Education's Loan Board HELB in efforts to boost maritime and blue economy professionals to meet growing demand.
Kenya faces a shortage of maritime and blue economy professionals and skilled labor, which blamed on the high cost of training. To address this, the Kenya Maritime Authority and the Higher Education Loans Board HELB have signed a maritime education and training financial support scheme to support capacity building.
Talking with the CEO of HELB, we were able to come up with other schemes that they are running that don't necessarily depend on government, that don't necessarily, with the support of the government, can attract funding from other well-wishers. And that's what we are targeting, to be able to reach as many children as possible so that, it doesn't become a barrier that a child cannot be able to fund their education, but they are able to get support and access.
Despite this, HELB officials say there is huge demand for support from students and are calling on beneficiaries to repay the revolving fund to the benefit of other needy students.
Through KME, we are then excited to start funding students who are either in Bandari or any other college which is actually pursuing these courses. And that way then we can now try to get the aspirations of SDG number 4 of long life learning. Long life learning and also being given money doesn't become an impediment in terms of you achieving your dream or getting your career. So that is important for us, and I think we are quite transparent in terms of how we account for our money. We should be able to tell you how many students have been able to benefit out of this scheme, where they are standing, what they are standing, and who is paying and who is not paying.
The Bandari Maritime Academy has an annual intake capacity of 2,000 students. Reporting for Channel One Business from Mombasa County, I'm Michael Mondiga.
Elsewhere, the government is constructing 3 cold storage facilities in efforts to reduce post-harvest losses of potatoes and bananas. 2 potato cold storage facilities are being constructed in Meru and Nyandarua, and a similar facility for bananas is being put up in Kisii, noting that the cold facility in Meru is 70% complete. Industry and Trade Cabinet Secretary Betty Minor said the warehouses would help reduce exploitation of farmers.
About 40% of farm produce in Kenya is lost to post-harvest losses. Among the most affected by these losses are small-scale farmers. This mostly happens during the harvest season, where prices drastically reduce due to oversupply, since most farmers do not have adequate storage facilities. To address this, the government is constructing 2 potato-rich areas and 1 to store bananas. One such facility is in Meru, which is expected to store potatoes. The cold storage facility is now 70% done.
We have grounds which can be given to entrepreneurs who want to do value addition. Even potato peeling is a value addition, cutting up potatoes, converting them into potato flour, potato cake. So many products are made.
Potatoes are grown on about 30,000 hectares, with the more than 4,000 small-scale farmers in Meru accounting for about half of the land under potatoes. The cold storage facility is expected to help keep the produce as farmers await better prices.
To increase the shelf life of products by more than 6 months. Actually, some was estimated that it will reach 8 months, which enables farmers to have a very sure market and a firm market for their products.
The Cabinet Secretary says a potato processing factory would be set up in Meru to add value to the produce. The county government of Meru is encouraging farmers to set up and join cooperatives to manage production and marketing of the potato.
Leo ni ile siku ya double kwenye quickbid.co.ke. Tunakupa home theater na fridge.
Kama unataka home theater ni rahisi sana. Enda kwenye lipa na M-Pesa. Paybill number ekelea 4032353. 4032353. Account ekelea HT kama kodi ya home theater, fuatanisha na unique number.
Kama unataka fridge, wekelea CM. CM ndio kodi ya fridge, kisha fuatanisha na shilingi 20 peke yake. Wekelea pin yako na hivyo ndivyo utakuwa umekelea bid kwenye quickbid.co.ke. Bidhaa bora kwenye bei ya nini?
Chini kwa chini. Chini kwa chini.
Jiunga na Quickbid ni rahisi. Enda kwenye M-Pesa, bonyeza paybill kisha weka business number 4032353. Kwenye account weka kodi ya bidhaa unayotaka na bid yako ya chini zaidi. Kwa mfano TV 16. Kisha weka shilingi 20 tu kama idadi yako. Weka bid yako pia kwenye www.quickbid.co.ke. Kumbuka, bid ya chini zaidi ya kipekee ndio hununua. Quickbid, bidhaa bora kwa bei ya chini.
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
Wiki hii kwenye mkulima tutaangazia aina mbalimbali ya herbs na spices.
Herbs ziko na manufaa zaidi. Hizi ni madawa. Ukitembelea vituo wale ambao wanafanya nutrition watakueleza kwamba hizo herbs ukitumia kuna yale magonjwa kwa mwili ambayo yanatibu.
Kisha tukuze strawberry na cucumber ndani ya greenhouse. Ungana nasi Jumapili saa 9:30 hapa KBC Channel.
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
I was held captive for 12 years.
Subject to escape with someone in the building.
Now, humans hunt the lichens and vampires. This is a new war.
We stand and we fight.
Whatever it is, it's more powerful than any of us.
KBC Channel 1 evokes the full potential of worship in you. Join us for an experience like no other when it comes to lifting your soul and giving adoration.
We are here for you.
Worship experience. Praise mix.
It's now time for the sport, and former Harambee Starlets and current SEP Ladies player Pauline Msungu has been named as one of the 25 global youth leaders by the International Olympic Committee for the 2021 to 2024 Olympic cycle. Msungu was selected from among the 350 young athletes whose names were presented to the IOC and selected after a due diligence process.
Former Harambee Starlets player Pauline Msungu is one of the 25 global youth leaders named by the International Olympic Committee for the 2021-2024 Olympic cycle, having been selected from among 350 young athletes whose names were presented to the IOC.
I'll be championing for the involvement of young people in different activities and games. I'll also be representing youth's interest in different sports, and again I'll be spreading the Olympic message and as well promoting the Olympic values and the power of sport as a global force for for good.
Msungu has been a member of SEP Ladies, though she took a 2-year break to focus on higher education before returning to the club. She played for Harambee Starlets between 2017 and 2018.
Right now I'm a Bundesliga youth ambassador, and in the program actually we do address different issues that affects the community, with the aim of empowering and ensuring that there is social welfare in the community.
The IOC Young Leaders Program started life in 2016. It is part of the IOC's long-term commitment to support young people through sport by empowering them to become social change makers. The program contributes to the goal of the Olympic movement to build a peaceful and better world by educating youth through sport.
AFC Leopards chairman Dan Shikanda has urged the Ministry of Sports to consider Football Kenya Federation's plea of allowing a limited number of fans in the stadium. Shikanda shared the sentiments during a press briefing that was held today at Kasarani Stadium ahead of the Sunday's Mashemeji Derby pitting rivals Gor Mahia and AFC Leopards, a match that will be played behind closed doors.
Following the outbreak of COVID-19, all top-tier football leagues in the country have been held without fans in the stadium in a government's move to curb the spread of the virus. FKF's Barry Otieno has insisted that this season's Mashemeji Derby will be played without the fans.
Fans also provide an avenue for clubs to generate revenue. We are at a place where we cannot have fans for now. It is not in our liking. It's caused by COVID. There are protocols in place, and the decision of if and when fans are allowed will purely be dependent on the sanitary situation of COVID-19 in the country. So it's not something that we can sit here today and discuss and say we can have X number of fans in the stadium unless we are advised by the Ministry of Health that according to the assessment, of course, they remain professionals in this, it is safe to bring back fans.
However, FC Leopards chairman Dan Shikanda has asked the Ministry of Sports to consider FKF's plea of allowing a limited number of fans access the stadium.
A former footballer, football is enjoyable with fans, and I thought maybe by the time we are reaching this derby time, we will have quite... we had requested the government to have 5,000. They saw it was too much. It came down to 2,500. It came down to 1,000. But at the end of the day, they have said that The advice given by the Ministry of Health, the situation is still not good. But as AFC Leopards and as Dan Shikanda, I really could have prayed that we play before a partisan crowd.
For us, this is a good opportunity to catch up with the AFC on the table standing, and we must get these 3 points. So we are working very hard. We don't have a lot of injuries. We are good.
The two teams will clash after an exemplary performance in the last 3 league matches, where Leopards currently lie fourth on the league table with 18 points, 3 points above Gor Mahia. The match was rescheduled from 3rd January to 7th Feb because of Kogalo's involvement in the Confederation of African Football CAF Championship. Frederick Moki for Channel 1 Sports.
As the national soccer team head coach Jacob Ghost Mulee has named a 28-man provisional squad ahead of the forthcoming 2022 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers in March. The 28 local-based players are expected to head into training camp Monday next week.
Among the players who earned their maiden call-ups to the national team are KCB goalkeeper Joseph Okoth, AFC Leopards midfielder Colin Shichenje, and KCB's National Lembi. Wazito midfielder Kevin Kimani makes a return to the national team, while Tuskers forward Henry Major also gets the nod.
Well, the plan is to see the local players, if they can be able to. They have shown at least what they can do, and I'm happy with the way the league is very competitive. And when we played Comoros, it was very difficult to engage a lot of local players in the team because they didn't have any match fitness. They were not playing anywhere. So it was so difficult to bring in them, most of them. And then
Kenya will play Egypt at home on 22nd next month and play against Togo away on 30th same month. Kenya is ranked 3rd in Group G with 3 points from 4 matches. Egypt and Comoros lead the group on 8 points each. 2 group winners from each of the 12 groups will advance to the finals of the 24-team tournament set for January 2022 in Cameroon. Stars will also take part in the forthcoming 2022 World Cup qualifiers kicking off in June and November.
Packed with action across the world. Of course, Morocco and Mali will meet in the final of the Africa Nations Championship this Sunday in Cameroon, while the host Cameroon and Guinea will face off on Saturday in the 3rd place playoff, and both the final matches will be aired live at KBC Channel 1 beginning 10 p.m. You do not want to miss, and of course we'll be coming to you live from Cameroon, airing those matches, especially on the Sunday match. I'll be keen to see which team takes the championship. All right, let me quickly go through your feedback. And our time is not on our side, but I'm sure Amos will allow me go through 1 or 2 or read 1 or 2 of your feedback. And on Facebook, Sam Kush, you're saying you are watching Channel 1 weekend from the beginning to the end. Thank you so much. I appreciate. And also Bonnie was there, tuned in from Kisii County with your dad, Samuel Orechi. Many thanks for tuning in. And quickly, your feedback on Twitter, we have at Japheth, tuned in from Kayole, Joseph Wajeri from Isinet, Oloitoktok, Boda, and your handle is Governor Wambia 001. You're tuned in from Kisumu West, and at Dennis, you're also watching Channel 1 Weekend. Thank you so much for your feedback. I appreciate your kindness and your company. We have to come to bring to an end this broadcast. My name is Purity Museo, and Lucy Maura has been our sign language interpreter tonight. I'll see you again tomorrow, same place, same time. Do keep safe. Up next is weather forecast. God bless.
Good evening and a very warm welcome to Channel 1 Weather Updates. My name is Irene Mchuma Odim. Tonight, the whole country is covered with partly cloudy conditions, save for the northern parts of the country where there are clear skies. Tomorrow there is a possibility of wet conditions over a few places. This as the whole country will experience sunny intervals during the morning hours. There'll be rains over a few places in Meru and Nyeri during the early morning hours. The northeastern parts of the country will experience sunny periods. The northwestern parts of the country will also experience sunny periods. The county of Samburu will experience sunny intervals. The Lake Basin region and western sector, the capital and counties around the region, moving all the way to the southeastern lowlands and also the coastal strip, will experience sunny intervals. In the afternoon, sunny intervals will continue over most parts of the country, but a few areas will experience showers, which will be accompanied by thunderstorms, and this would affect Narok areas, Kisii, Meru and Nyeri, and then temperatures, the highest across the country, will be experienced in Lodwar at 37 degrees Celsius. Temperatures have slightly gone down in Mandera. Tomorrow, expecting highs of 35 degrees Celsius. The capital is tonight experiencing highs of 15 degrees Celsius. And tomorrow, Kisumu and Nairobi will experience highs of 28 degrees Celsius. Let's now cross the borders and have a look at the international forecast. Do you have a good night and a blessed day ahead.
Shalom and praise the Lord. What a wonderful beginning of the month.